Welcome to the January 8th meeting of the Williamson County chapter of the Native Plant Society of Texas. Welcome to the meeting. It is good to see all of you here. Reestablishing acquaintances in the new year. So that's fantastic. Thank you all for being here. We've got a great program tonight, and we'll go through the business slides that we need to go through, and it's all good. So yes, tonight, protecting dark skies for plants and all living things is our topic, and we'll be coming back to that in about 10 minutes or so, unless I can go faster.
Okay.
So I can go faster. Just jump it out. There we go. All right. For those of you who are in person, you've already seen the plants in the back. You know what? I'm not giving much of a description because you can follow that QR code and go to our database to find information about the false aloe, Greg's mist flower, as well as mealy cup. In our database, we don't have the blue-eyed grass yet. And we don't have any left in the back of the room either, so that's great. And as you saw on the sign in the back, it's most likely Caesareum languus. Yeah, there we go. So it sounds right if you mumble it. So yeah. So moving on from pronunciation. Yeah, and again, Wilkoscape, that's our database. That's the QR code. So if you live in Williamson County, whether you're east of 35 or west of 35, this is a great resource for you to use to find plants appropriate to your specific location. So, hey, here's our list of upcoming programs. I'll let you take a look at those. I'll give the folks at home time to look at those. I am not going to read through them. Oh, except for the one thing, at the moment, or at least when I printed the slideshow, our June 11th slot is open. So if you have ideas for speakers, please do get in touch with Susie Hickman. You can use the email on the NIPSOT website, our NIPSOT website. So upcoming field trips, lots of things to be determined. The next one is February 7th, 3 p.m. Rain date, February 21st. And I believe on the blog, the latest information was posted as to exactly where you'll be meeting, what you're doing. Okay, so correct address is on the blog. And I think I read, bring your weeding tools.
At least for an hour, from 3 to 4, and then we're going to socialize from 4 to 5.
Okay, so you have to work from 3 to 4 weeding, and then there will be social time from 4 to about 5. All right, very good. Or later. So hope to see you all there. From our last field trip, January 1st, the first day hike, about 25 or 27 brave and hardy souls weathered, ventured out into the harsh Texas weather to greet the new year. And a friendly time was had by all. Check out the field trips album, a lot of nice pictures in there, and you can kind of see why it was the Fern Bluff segment of the trail. So it looks like a really neat area that I did not go to, and I'm sorry that I missed it.
Give a plug for your students.
Okay, and some Round Rock High School students went, and they're getting a shout out right now. So excellent, very good. And former Round Rock High School students as well. So one of whom has the butterfly picture credited to him. So very good to see Arnon out there. Put it on your calendars if you're looking for for a time to volunteer or a time to get plants, March 28th is our spring plant sale. Again, at Southwest Williamson County Regional Park. The planning phase is underway and people are hard at work getting that list together and getting everything lined up. So keep an eye on the blog and plant lists will be available once we're closer to the sale. Hey, our next pollinator garden workday at the landfill is coming up on January 18th. No need to register, just show up and you can have a good time at the landfill. It's a neat garden and it's a fun time getting things back in shape and adding stuff and clearing stuff out too. Tonight's attendee, one winner at tonight's meeting will win the Texas native plant primer or primer? Or yes. Okay, there we go. Either way. Again, keep in touch, subscribe to our blog, check out our website, subscribe to the blog from the website, and our Facebook page as well. Always take note of the meeting location. Thankfully, we can just keep coming here for a while unless something changes at last minute. And then the blog and the website are great resources to do double check to make sure you're going where you should. Okay, so tonight our talk is protecting dark skies for plants and all living things. Cindy Luongo Cassidy is the leader of DarkSky Texas, formerly known as the Texas chapter of the International Dark Sky Association. A founding member of several night sky groups and a Hays County Master Naturalist. She has 25 plus years experience as a lighting consultant and dark sky advocate, was a key player in positioning the city of Dripping Springs to receive the prestigious International Dark Sky Community designation, the first in Texas, and has assisted numerous other international dark sky place applications in Texas. In 2019, Cindy was awarded the Crawford-Hunter Lifetime Achievement Award, the highest honor that DarkSky International bestows on individuals who, during their lifetime, have contributed an extraordinary effort to light pollution abatement. Cindy lives in Driftwood, Texas, and was the creator and executive director of the hugely successful Texas Night Sky Festival.
Thank you. And I just got my mic on, so we're in good shape here. Excellent. I am delighted to be here with you all tonight, and I will try to get here where I'll be in the Zoom picture, but I do tend to wander. As Mark said, I am not only president of the board for DarkSky Texas, which is a statewide organization. I want to tell you a little bit about that organization, and a Hays County Master Naturalist. I love your organization too.
No bragging.
If I had time, I would join instead of just buying your plants at the sale. You know, but you probably are okay with that at this point. So, all right, let me check out this. The pointer is working. I love that. I want to tell you a teeny bit about DarkSky Texas first, because many of you may not be familiar with them. And actually, I've got multiple mics here, I think. I'm so mic'd up. Okay. So you can see our mission, where we are promoting the use of better outdoor lighting. A lot of people go, oh my gosh, you're going to take all my lights away? No. We're going to help you do lighting in a better way so that you can see when you need to out of doors, but that we don't cause as much harm as some current installations of outdoor lights can do.
No.
So tonight we will talk about, you know, why it's important, what this light pollution thing is, why it's important, and we'll start with plants, right? I know where I am. We'll start with plants, but we'll also talk about how it affects us as humans, and we'll touch on pollinators and then other animals, And towards the end, we'll wrap up with how do we take care of this problem? What do we do better with our lighting to fix it? Okay? And if you don't remember that, you can just follow along. We're good. Want to tell you about a few of our programs. We have a neat program called the Be a Star Award. And if you follow the 5 principles that I'll tell you about as we go through the program tonight, if you follow the 5 principles, you'll get the sign, nice metal sign, and we also have it double this size that you can put on your property. We do sky quality meters where we take readings of the night sky to actually get data about the quality of the sky and how much light pollution is there or how much just natural lighting is there. We just got our 24th International Dark Sky Place in the state of Texas. And this organization, which is a statewide organization, our members are the key people who have helped get every one of them. And those are important. They raise awareness about the issues. They give places where people can go and get some education about how to do better lighting, and some places that will, allow you to see the stars. We'll talk about the stars. Then lots of advocate resources and an initiative called the Bold Initiative to help businesses with their lighting. I want to tell you about our newest thing, which I think is so fun. We have a brand new specialized camera and programming that goes with it that allows us to take pictures of the entire sky. This photograph was taken at West Cave Discovery Center. Some of you may remember the name West Cave Preserve. It's changed the name. But see the trees around the edge? You basically are taking a picture of the entire sky, and then you run it through a program, and it tells you how much light pollution is in what areas. And we can point and say, okay, because we know what direction we set up the camera, we can say, oh, okay, over here, that light's coming from San Antonio, this is from Austin, etc. So it helps communities and our parks be able to identify the areas of the sky that are being invaded in their location, and they can start working, hopefully, with that entity to help reduce light pollution. So that's a really cool new project that we're excited about. So why in the world should you care about light pollution? Right? We're going to talk about it, all the details about what it is. But do you remember a time that you may have been out under a beautiful sky like that? Close your eyes.
Do you want to see your
I know it's this time of night, no naps. Just close your eyes a minute, take a deep breath, and think about what it was like to be out under the night sky. Oh, does your breathing slow down? You have a physical reaction to that. And when you're out under that sky, and you can open your eyes now, when you're out under that sky, your body does react to it, and it's a healthy reaction. I had a doctor from UT San Antonio who researched human melatonin, the hormones that we create in the evening after dark. And he said that every cell in our body knows what time of day it is. Think about that. The light is different in different times of day. And we'll talk about that light spectrum as we go through this. But our body knows what time of day it is. And we need certain spectrum of the light, certain parts of the light during the daytime. And we need to be away from certain parts of the light spectrum at night. So also, I want you to think about all of the ways that humans are connected and to the night sky and have been for years. Think about our literature, that's connected to the night sky. Think about what time of year to plant certain things. It's all connected with how much darkness there is and how much light there is at certain times. So much of the, original agricultural calendars were built based on the night sky. So we've touched on agriculture, science, our music. Okay, how many of you have a certain song starting to play in your head? We know that. So many connections that humans have had with the night sky. And the concern is we may be losing a lot of that because people aren't out under that night sky. We go out and we've got this light pollution. So what is this light pollution that we've got? Well, we are concerned that dark skies are disappearing. We know that over 80% of the world's population does not experience a natural night anymore. And that light pollution is increasing at twice the rate of the population. More and more people are going, oh, I got to have more lights, right? But let's look at that and we'll talk about whether we need them. So this light pollution that we're talking about, we've got all these components. Look at the sky in this drawing, this graphic. That red sky, you go outside and sometimes the sky's reddish or maybe another color, but it's not the natural night sky. You don't see the stars and the moon. You see all these colors from the lights that are in that area reflecting up there. That's called sky glow. We'll touch base about that. The one that drives me crazy personally, and you can have your own favorite, but mine is glare. Glare is blinding. It can be dangerous because it keeps us from seeing and can be a real problem, especially for those of us, and I put myself in that category, who may be over 45 or so because our eyes changed. Do I need to tell how old I am? But yes, it's been 30 years since I was there. So next issue is light trespass. That's when there's light on one property or even on public property that is coming onto another property that doesn't want that light on there. Yeah, whether they want it or not, it's trespassing on that property. Light trespass. The next thing is just light clutter. So all of these things together make up what we call light pollution. Look at this particular slide. If we can go to the next one, maybe. Okay, it doesn't want to go, so I'm going to try clicking there. That took us. And this is basically a spotlight that's on the side of somebody's house. Pretty normal light. Does that make you feel safe? You can, have some light to see in the backyard. Feel pretty safe? All right. Yes, no? No. Why do you not feel safe? You can't see. It's glaring. What happens if we... Okay, we're going to have to get this thing working. There we go. What happens if we shield that light? Look at what happens. We get rid of all the shadows because the human eye adjusts to the brightest thing in, the area that you're looking. So if that light is there uncovered, your eye is going to adjust to that and everything else looks dark. It's got shadows. But if you shield that light and just use the illumination, then it will go beyond where that light is, so that you can see more. You can definitely see more. All right, let's look at, and let's go back a second. Can y'all see? That gentleman was there standing in that gateway, that open gate right there with that glare. He's still there, but now we can see him because of what we're doing with the light. We're shielding it from our eyes. So, yeah, I'm with you. We don't feel safe on that first one. Here's just a couple of quick examples of some glare. This picture, was taken here in Central Texas. You're driving down the street. That can be tough at night. But instead, here's a street, and look at the pavement. It's illuminated. You can see way down that street, but you don't have those glaring lights in your eyes. They're all shielded and of a lower level so that you can see it. So just a couple of examples here. Here's another example of a big light on the side. It happens to be on the side of a school. And here's a different school that has lighting done a different way where you can drive up and not feel blinded. So a couple of examples of my favorite glare. Next, we're going to touch on light trespass. The building on the left is across the street from the building on the right. Think about that. Think about trying to enjoy your front porch in the home on the right. That home has 0 outdoor lights on. 0. It's all being illuminated from across the street. The people across the street certainly have the right to illuminate their property. But what we want to do is to teach people how they can illuminate their property and not others. So when they do that, we're going to talk about the fact that they'll save money because they're paying for all that electricity to light up the house across the street. Can you imagine trying to enjoy the porch or sleep in the home? The last one we talked about was light clutter, and here's a quick example of that. Just too many lights. It makes it hard to see. Another benefit, we've talked about some problems that light pollution can cause, but one of the things that we can use in our favor is that when we have a lot of light going everywhere, we are wasting energy. That means we're wasting money. So we can tell people when you do lighting the way that we're going to talk about, that they'll save money. All right, I'll let pictures go. Now, another thing that is economic, good for the community, is that when you have better lighting in your community, you can draw in tourists or local people who will go and participate and spend a little money too. But you can do things like have star parties, where you have telescopes up for people to look at the stars. You can have guided nighttime tours where people are comfortable out there instead of all this glare in their eyes. Storytelling under the stars, night sky photography lessons, nighttime hikes, because you can have good lighting and not, light up the world. And then moonlight gardens, and I put magical in front of it because I think nighttime gardens that have subtle lighting that's not hurting the plants is very magical feeling to walk through that. So let's get right into it. How does all this light pollution affect living things? Well, we, want to think about ourselves a lot, right? What's in it for me? So we're going to touch on humans first. So we talk about the benefits of better lighting for human health. Well, there's a whole list of things that can be health risk if we are exposed to certain types of light at night. We have a whole list here. I'm not going to read it to you. Everybody can see that, but that's a pretty concerning list of things that it can cause. And the biggest culprit is something called blue light. Now, blue light, we think, gosh, I have white lights or yellow lights. I don't have blue lights at my house, perhaps. But we're going to talk about the fact that blue light is a color in the visible spectrum. We can see it with our eyes, but we don't filter it out. It's one of those types of light that's beneficial to us in the day. It helps us get up in the morning, be energetic, and do things, but it slows us, it keeps us energetic at night too, when we need to be resting for our health. So we've got this thing called the visible light spectrum, and the part that's expanded there, that's the part that humans can see. There are animals that we'll see in the ultraviolet and the infrared, and of course plants that react to it too. But we're going to talk about that a minute, and I want to do a little demo for you, and we'll have a little bit of fun. We get to look through some what's called diffraction grating glasses to let you actually experience this. And for the people at home on Zoom, I'm glad you're there. And future people on YouTube, I'm going to show you a slide of what we are going to be seeing here, so you won't be left out. So let's hang tight a minute and we'll. Oh, y'all are so good. Let's keep a few up here. There you go. Everybody gets, yes. Go for it. Okay. Y'all seen this type of thing before? These lovely cardboard glasses folded on one of the little ends, and we're going to all put our glasses on. And this is when whoever takes pictures for the group gets to do fun things. So for those of you at home, this is the type of thing that we are all putting on here. Yeah, we'll all get them on. And Marilyn's going to help us by turning the lights off. So those of you at home, we're going to first look at a white light, and we can do that actually by looking at the screen. And this is what we are seeing. We should be seeing what? What do you see on each side of the white lights? Right. The full spectrum of light. We see rainbows. And that's what you see in the picture too, because that's the camera looking through a pair of these glasses. That's that full spectrum of light that we just saw a little diagram of. And that's what we get with most white lights. If you have, let's see. Oh, I don't think, if somebody has their phone with them, I know everybody should have their phone put away, right, for me to talk. No, I get you to pull out your phone. Look, somebody hold up, turn your light on. Oh, here we go. Look at the light on his phone. Very intense spectrum there. Lots of blue. Can y'all, everybody see this? Yeah, they see the screen? Good deal. So, yeah, it's very intense blue. Now, there's a different type of light. We're going to look now at a yellow light. And for those of you here, look away from the screen and look on either side of this light. What colors do you see?
Yellow and red.
Yes, we don't have any of that light in the blue wavelength. Right? Okay, this is an old-fashioned bug light. Exactly. That's why the bugs don't come to it, because it doesn't have that light in the blue wavelength. Oh, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, fun stuff. Okay, now if you're around astronomers or down in a submarine, yes, exactly. I love that. Or doing photographic darkroom work, you might be around a red light. What do you see here? Just the red. All right, let me go. This is what the people here are looking through the diffraction grating glasses are seeing from the slide. It's just red. And if I took this light and kind of pointed at things, you can see there's a lot of light. I could see to walk around very easily. So we can have lights that do not have that blue wavelength in it that we can see, just fine. Remember all the problems that blue light creates, that whole list of things? We don't want to have it, and I'll turn this off. Here's one more color that I don't have a picture from, but this is called true amber. And what happens with these lights that do not have light in the blue wavelength, I'll turn this around, give a little swing to it here, is that you can stay away from that light with the blue wavelength. But what does the blue wavelength do to us? It stops us from producing melatonin. Everybody's heard of melatonin, right? Okay, so melatonin you think of as the hormone that helps you go to sleep. It does more than that. It helps to rebuild your immune system. It helps to do things like stop the growth of cancer cells during the time that your body has plenty of melatonin in it. So we want to have darkness around us and produce the melatonin. And we're not the only living things that create melatonin. Almost every living thing on this planet creates melatonin. So we can take our glasses off and we can pass them to the ends and we'll take those back up. But yeah, we want to be able to have that melatonin in our body because it helps keep us healthy. And that's very important. And like I said, almost every living thing on this planet produces melatonin in one way or another during natural darkness. Okay, so that's the part for us humans. Let's look at, if we can go to the next slide. There we go. Let's get into how does it affect plants. Very important. That's what we are really focused on tonight. So one of the things is that it impacts leaf fall. You know what I mean? Okay. In the middle of summer, what happens? When the days start getting shorter, what does a deciduous tree do? Well, yeah, it stops making chlorophyll. Yes. And eventually that energy that was, put into the leaves from the chlorophyll, that is going to subside. The leaves will apparently turn color. Actually, that color was there. We just took away the green. And then it is also triggered to drop its leaves. And that whole cycle is important for the health of the trees. The photograph I have on this slide shows a tree with a big old street light beside it. The street light has kept part of the tree illuminated. So it's struggling and trying to get there, but the other part did what it was supposed to do, drop the leaves. This part, lower part of the tree, is holding on to those leaves. So it's got energy in those leaves that it really should be using to rebuild its immune system, keep itself healthy, to prepare for the next year. Think about that. How much damage can be done there? Let's look at another example of plant growth. This is a soybean field, which we don't see a lot of around here. I grew up around them. Do you see that funky pattern on the side of the field? What is that? It's the lights. That's the pattern of the lights on the field. So when the lights are on the field, the soybeans do not, get ready to be harvested. The ones that are brown are ready to be harvested. So the farmer has lost that entire area that's staying green because it won't, those soybeans won't get ready for harvest. So that's certainly an issue with plants. You know of plants that need certain amount of light or not, and and they do things with the light that's there. But one of other things that happens because of artificial light, it changes what's called bud burst. In the studies that have been done on this, budding has averaged 7.5 days earlier in this 13-year study about deciduous trees. 7.5 days. And you think, okay, that may not be too bad. But then that causes issues down the line with, does it have the right, if it's got flowering, does it have the right pollinators at the right time? Are they there to pollinate, after the buds have burst? So, those artificial lights are changing the cycle with our natural systems. I thought this one was really interesting. It creates tough leaves. Yeah. When trees are around artificial light, their leaves get tougher. And the tougher the leaf, the fewer insects are interested in eating them. And you think, well, maybe that could be good, except we need the insects there for the birds. So again, it's changing what naturally should be happening. Yes, you do have less insect damage. So, but you don't get the birds. The other thing that can happen when you have artificial lights around a garden is that over a period of a few years, you will have something like 3 times the number of slugs. You want slugs in your garden? Put the lights out there. Okay. Yeah, think about that. More slugs. Well, we've got these, all these plants making changes. What about the pollinators? Because they are so closely tied to our plants, and the plants need them for reproduction. So, we've got artificial lights that are causing some of the plants not to bloom as much because all of the night blooming plants need natural darkness to bloom. So you don't get as many blooms. And then the pollinators, come and there aren't as many blooms and there's not as much pollen. And they've done studies that show that when those pollinators are there, that they don't get as much pollen or spread as much pollen. And then there aren't as many blooms the next time. And it's a spiraling down issue. It causes fewer and fewer blooms. So our pollinators need those night blooming plants, and the night blooming plants need darkness, natural darkness. Well, what about our moths? We know that lights distract them from the plants. So they should be down. I mean, moths are great pollinators. They should be down on the plants pollinating. But if there are big lights around, approximately, I'm sure 70% of them, in the studies they've done, 70% of the moths in the area get attracted to these lights instead of being down pollinating the plants. So we are again hurting the reproduction of our plants because we are sucking the pollinators away with artificial lights. Remember that yellow bug light? That's why people have bug lights. You don't want to be pulling those moths around. So there we are. We have all those issues with our pollinators. Now, what about the effect it has on animals? Let's look at that. So it affects their annual life cycles. changes in the daylight can trigger when, to breed. Do you think the deer around here go, oh, look at the calendar. It's right. It's time to go into rut. No, they will react to as much as a minute difference in one day and the next from how many hours or how many minutes of darkness there is and how many minutes of daylight. And that triggers hormones in their body to do all of these things annually. So many animals have annual cycles, whether it's going into breeding, whether it's fur and feather changes, or time to migrate or hibernate. But all of these things are triggered by the number of minutes of darkness, of natural darkness, and the number of minutes of daylight. So that's a big issue for them. Another problem with daily cycles would be for these birds. And I'm looking at bird families here. So if you look at the pigeons and dove families, they at night slow down their respiration by about 20%. We have that figure up there for you. And the sparrows and those of a similar family will drop their metabolic rate by 50%. So in half, they're going to rest at night, just like we should. These birds go to the trees and their metabolic rate drops. They rebuild their immune systems. This is how they stay healthy. Look at the titmice, 68%. And of course, the hummingbirds, 85%. They need that natural darkness to stay healthy. You may have heard of hummingbirds, going into torpor. This is what we're talking about. They do that every night. I have a friend who has documented for years the hummingbirds on her property and followed them as they built their nest each year and had families. And she and I were doing a co-talk one night, and she would do part and I'd do part. And when she heard this part, she said, oh my gosh, she had never thought about the fact that all of the hummingbirds build their nest on one side of her property when the same vegetation is on the other side where a neighbor's light shines. They won't build it there. They're smart. They know for their health and for the health of that family they're raising that they need that natural darkness. So just a little story to go with that. Of course, better lighting helps birds to navigate and migrate safely. You've heard of the Lights Out Texas program. This came from a national program, which we adopted from a Canadian program. But all that light pollution can attract the birds. It keeps them from knowing where to go. It pulls them into buildings, and not just tall buildings. We think about, oh yeah, the big skyscrapers. More birds are killed on 1- and 2-story buildings than on the big skyscrapers. At DarkSky Texas, if you go to our blogs on our website, so that's DarkSky Texas, Texas written all the way out, .org, go to the blogs. We have a blog post on how to do windows so that, not just the lighting, we care about the birds. So you do the windows also so that birds don't fly into them. Whether you have shades you pull down at night during migration season, or whether you I've got dots on certain windows at my house, but there's a whole list of ways that you can protect birds so that they don't, fly into your windows. Some of you may have seen the big towers of lights that they do in New York to commemorate 9/11. Fortunately, they have gotten so that they have people there who are monitoring the birds, because when those towers of lights are going up, they will collect as many as like 10,000 birds in them. And then they'll, the people who are monitoring it will get them to cut the lights out. leave them off for at least 15 minutes so the birds can disperse and continue on their migratory path, because that happens during migration season. That's a huge problem. They can watch those birds on radar. They just get, pulled in. You may have read about the instance down in the Houston area where like 300 birds collided into a building one night when the clouds were a little bit low and the building was all lit up. So that company has been one of the leaders with the Lights Out Texas program. They have learned to do their lighting so that they don't draw the birds in and have dead carcasses everywhere. Yeah, you don't want that. You don't want that. So there are lots of ways to protect the birds when they're migrating, but that's definitely an issue for the birds. It also, all this light pollution, it also disorients sea turtles. You may have heard about that. When they hatch, they pop up out of the sand and they're supposed to be going to the sea, right? What they are innately programmed to do is to go to the brightest object, because it should be the stars and the moon shining on the sea as it's moving and catching the lights. Instead, they go, whoa, okay, so look at the top picture. Do you see the circles, the little tracks? Those are the baby sea turtles, these little babies coming out, and they're confused. They go this way. Oh, there are condo lights there. Wait a minute, there are parking lot lights over here. They are just going around setting themselves up for them to be food for predators or to get run over by cars. So those beaches need to be dark. Should have brought a picture of this, but I know when my husband and I were in Florida, and I've worked with the Turtle Conservancy and the state of Florida on this, they now have, remember that amber light I was showing you? They now, and I'll show it to our group at home too, they now have used these amber lights, they're called true amber, that do not disturb the turtles anywhere near as much. So the condos, the shopping centers, the swimming pools, all the lighting along the anywhere near the beach is amber lighting. Yeah, pretty cool. They also sent text every night and said, it's almost 8 o'clock. Turn your shades down because the turtles, we got to protect the turtles. So I love it. I love it. But that is a problem. And they're not the only, animals that have issues. And the ones I'm talking about are not the only ones. They are just examples of some of the problems. Oh, don't we all love fireflies? They are harder to find these days. And one of the big issues is our light pollution. In the United States, or in North America alone, there are over 160 different species of fireflies. Every one of them has a different blink. Maybe a blink blink, maybe a zoop, maybe, every one of them has a different blink. And they will only mate with ones of the same species who have the same blink. Now, I have to admit, there are a few of them that look for different species, but they eat the other species. So I won't go there. But exactly. We have to laugh a little bit, but they'll only mate with ones of the same species. So they have to find that other blink. Well, if our lights are so bright, just like if I were over here with a little, light and the room's all lit up, it'd be hard to see. But if the room was dark, we would see it easily. So our lights keep them from seeing each other and confuse them. Good old lightning bugs. Another issue we'll talk about, we've talked about all these behaviors that are problems for animals. And that's that light pollution alters that predator-prey dynamic. they're prey that normally wouldn't go out, like during the full moon. They would, stay in because they know they've learned they get eaten. Or, well, what if their lights on all the time? Then how do they hide? It's very hard for them. We talked a little bit about insects and not liking the trees because they get tough, but they also get sucked into, lights. If you forget and leave your porch light on all night, who's going to use it? We know that's an accident when we do that. But if you do that, what are you going to have the next morning? You're going to have dead bugs, or they're just going to be stuck to the wall there, going, oh, they're stuck because of the light. They got drawn in. Well, they've shown that one of the large problems with the reduced number of insects in this world is because of our artificial light. Hundreds of thousands of insects die after they, buzz around a light for hours and then fall or zoom into the light and get zapped. So that is a huge problem. And I'm going to mention the fact that a world without insects is a world without birds. We've got to have the insects. And of course, if we don't have insects, we have other issues, and eventually it'll come back to being problems for us. So I want you to think about this quote. It's from Catherine Rich and also Dr. Luongo, who were the founders of the Urban Wildlands Group. What if we woke up one morning only to realize that all of the conservation planning of the last 30 years told only half the story, the daytime story? Think about that. For many, many years, most of our research on plants and animals dealt with what happens during the daytime. Fortunately, in the last 10, 12, 15 years, there's more and more research showing what happens to all the plants and animals when we have artificial light around or when they're around just natural light at night from the stars and the moon. So we know we're learning more and more every day about the issues that we are causing other living things. Oh, is it pretty heavy at this point? We're doing all this damage. Let's go into solutions, because there are solutions to this. We can handle this. There's something called the 5 principles for responsible outdoor lighting. Now, these are things that had been done for a while, but they have been agreed upon by 2 major organizations. The Illuminating Engineering Society. This is the group of professional lighting designers, and DarkSky International. So we had those 2 groups come together and agree. These are the 5 things we should do for every single outdoor light we put out there. All right. I'm not going to read this list to you. That's because we're going to talk about each one individually. Is the light useful? Why is that light there? Ask that about every light that you can control. Why is that light there? What's it doing for me? But, or why is it on at 3 in the morning? We'll talk about that too. But if a person is not there, it is not stopping somebody with criminal intent from coming on your property. It is making it so that they don't even have to bring their own flashlights. Exactly. Make them bring their flashlights, and then somebody's going to see that thing moving out there and go, what is going on? If the light's on all the time, who cares? Oh, no, light's on. Don't notice. But is that light useful? Look at the light that the arrow is pointing to in this photograph. It's lighting up the top of the roof. To me, that's a waste of money, electricity, the waste of the light. And I also point to the light that's over that that sign. You can't read the sign. We will talk a little bit later down the 5 things of having the light at the right level, so that you can see what you need to see. So we've got a light here that is not useful. Maybe they built the porch after the light was put on. I don't know, but we need to go back and evaluate that light. It should be unplugged. Number 1, is it useful? Second one, is it targeted to illuminate where you need it? We've got some examples here. The light on the far left, these globe lights, they can be very pretty during the day, kind of eye candy. And I've seen them being put up and people say, oh, it's like an old light. Well, it really isn't. But it may be, some period of time. But you can think of it as light pollution on a stick or a glare bomb, your choice. But remember those, light pollution on a stick. It shoots light everywhere. It's obviously using a lot more light, a lot more energy than you need to light up the ground where you're going to walk, or the side of a building that you need to see. Look at the next one. People said, okay, well, we'll put a little hat on it, right? And that'll take care of it. Nope, look, from the bottom of the light source up to the sides of that metal, that's where that light is going. So you're still paying for a lot of extra light to get the same amount of light on the ground where you can see. Look at what's happening to the stars from left to right also. The next one is what was taught 20 years ago. Full cutoff. We're going to stop it and make it at 90 degrees, right? Out here. Well, then they learned that the light about 15 degrees below that 90 degree level and about 15 degrees above, so that light going out to the side, created more sky glow than light going straight up. It catches in the atmosphere and goes and goes and goes. I don't know if you've ever been to McDonald Observatory. Great place. If you turn and look to the west from there, you can see El Paso. You can see the lights 200 miles away in El Paso because they get caught in the atmosphere and come all that way. So they are paying for that light. That's a lot of money. They're paying for that light to be seen 200 miles away. That's something that we can all learn to work on and not shoot it out straight. So the last light there is the best. It comes down at an angle and hopefully is kept on the property that install the light. So targeted, that's called targeted. Put that light where you need it. Shield it, target it, shine on the area you need. And the next slide here is a little graphic that shows some of how you do that. All of the fixtures on the right, look at them. Look where the bulb is. Look where the source of the light is. And this is a little bit old diagram where it's bulbs. We have LEDs, the diodes all over the place now, but it's the same principle. The source of the light on the good ones is hidden. So you don't have that glare in your eyes. You get the illumination. You get to see instead of being blinded. So the ones on the left all have lights that, whether it's the original source or, like the bollards that are down just below the middle there, those have a reflective surface that the light shines on that reflective surface and makes that reflective surface really part of the source of the light. So we want to hide our light under a bushel basket, yes? Okay, that's just the thought there. But it allows us to use that illumination and not blind ourselves. All right, we are whipping along here. No brighter than necessary. Think about that sign. It was so bright, it blinded us. It kept us from seeing the sign. Under the service station, it's a little bit brighter, but they're also recessed and they're directed on the pumps. So when you pull in, you can see. And actually, I took this photograph, and I know the pavement looks dark between the service station and where the photographer, me, was standing, but it didn't look that way to my eyes. It looked, light, the color of concrete. It was just the contrast there, and I'm not a nighttime photographer, so I'll admit it right there, and let you know that it gave you a good area to see. Now, once this station and the HEB beside it were put in, literally people went by, and the Home Depot just down the street, people went by City Hall. I had calls from City Hall, and they said, we're getting people stopping by saying, wow, they can drive by and they don't get blinded. They love it. They can pull in the station, they can get gas, they can get out, they can see everything they need, and they're not blinded. Instead of pulling back out into a dark road, because that area didn't have street lights in that area, they, instead of pulling back into a dark road and having this contrast of bright, bright, bright and dark, it was gentle, and their eyes could adjust and they could see. So that's the third principle. The fourth principle is to use light only when it's needed. If a person is not there, believe me, animals, plants, etc., do not need that artificial light. Turn it off. Here we have a parking lot at maybe, 3 in the morning for a business that closed and everybody left much earlier. There's no point in having those lights there. They possibly could attract somebody with ill intent, or somebody who wants to drive circles in the parking lot, or do something that's not the purpose of that parking lot. But they could be cut off. You can also have them on motion detectors. So if somebody does come, bam, they pop on. That's been used in a number of universities, and the security guards say they love it because instead of everything lit up at night, the lights either go off or down to about 5 or 10% of their normal level. And if somebody starts horsing around, oh, they wouldn't horse around. Somebody goes to an area, those lights will pop on and they can go, whoa, what's going on over there? And they can go check instead of everything being lit all the time. So you use motion detectors, you use timers, you use an old-fashioned switch, cut them off if a person is not there. Okay, our last principle is to use warmer colors. We just looked at a yellow light that's warmer. We gave the example of the true amber light. Those are warmer lights. Those are lights that do not have all that light in the blue wavelength. So it doesn't damage our health. It will slow down our melatonin. Any artificial light will, but it won't shut it off like lights that have a lot of parts of that blue wavelength included in them. So we use warmer lights at night. Good thing. So what I want to share with you is that you can make a difference. Dark skies start at home or in your business or in places that you have some influence. You can do this. So I'm going to challenge you to go review your lights for these 5 principles and see if you need to make any adjustments that will be better for your health, will help you see better, because that's why we put up lights at night. We want to see better. So I want to thank you. Together, we can do lots of great things. I would encourage you to go to darkskytexas.org. And hello, I will encourage you to donate. Thank you. because right now we are all volunteer and we need funding to run our programs. We've got fabulous programs that we need more funding to run. I appreciate y'all having me here, and I'll take questions if we have some. The question is, are there better choices for our Christmas lights than we may be choosing now? Some of you probably have already made some good choices. We actually have a blog post on our website. If you go to the blog, it'll go into a little bit more detail and talk about the better lights. Bottom line, it's better if they are warmer. So instead of picking the real bright white lights, pick maybe yellow ones or, or red and green colors. Pick some that have the warmer tones in them. And then don't have, if you put up a spotlight for some reason, which I've seen, have it so that it doesn't shine above structures on your property or into the eyes of people driving by or your neighbors. So be careful about where your light goes. And, we all enjoy all the lights at Christmas. We're not telling people, we're not the Grinch. We're not telling people turn off their Christmas lights, but let's do them in a way that doesn't cause harm to ourselves or our neighbors. Yes. The question is, have there been studies on other living things, animals, etc., that are normally out at night and the issues that they have with artificial lights? Yes. In fact, I could give you a link to hundreds of studies. We didn't have so many of these, like I said, until 10, 12 years ago when people started looking at this more seriously and going, yeah, we got to look at what's going on at night. And there are, and I can share with y'all later the link to a huge database of research papers where you can sort it by or select by whether you just want animals or you want to look at human health or you want to look at plants, etc. And it's just a plethora of them. Every day I'll hear another research study that's been published. Yes. Yeah, these are just examples of different behaviors that are negatively affected by our artificial light. So, kind of picked and choose a few critters that were affected, but almost every living thing on this planet is negatively affected by our artificial light. Yes. The question is, are any of our Central Texas cities doing an exemplary job of controlling the lights in their communities, their city-owned lights, etc., to start with? And the answer is yes. I would put Dripping Springs at the top of the list. They were the first in Texas to earn the designation of an international dark sky community, and they have been good support for almost every other community. If you look, again, I keep pointing you to our website at darkskytexas.org and click under projects, click on Dark Sky Places in Texas. We have a list of all of the communities and parks and reserves that have earned that International Dark Sky Place designation. Now, it does not, when a community earns it, it does not mean that you have a gorgeous, Milky Way sky there. What it means is that community is working towards, they've got good controls on any new lights going up, and they are keeping it from getting worse. And many of those communities have what's called sunset clauses, where after X number of years, they'll often start with commercial. All the commercial lights have to now follow that ordinance. So they're doing a good job of educating the public, of holding events to teach people about how to do better lighting. And that sort of thing. So they're doing everything they can to help reduce the light pollution in their area. Then we have places like, I lose the name. I was just down there, just north of Del Rio, and it's yes, it's the Devil's River State Natural Area. Oh, gorgeous sky, gorgeous sky. And they're one of our dark sky places, and they are dark, and they have to keep it dark or they will lose that designation. Solar lights in the garden, if everybody could hear the question, what should we do about them? Should we just point them down or get rid of them? That's a good question. I personally have occasionally used solar lights, but I made sure that they were, I actually painted the lens on the fixture with a couple of layers of red so that we could use them, around the swimming pool when people would be out there to let people see where they were walking. And then I would put a cover over after we were finished being out there at night. Because, those solar lights, depending on the strength of them, will go on, stay on a lot during the night. So it depends on the solar light. You may have one that will only gather enough light and have enough energy to stay on a couple hours while you're out there. But if you're not out there, then it's not doing any good. Well, the slugs like it. Yes. The question is, are there indoor lights with less of the blue spectrum? Yes. And I'll share what my husband and I personally do. In our bedroom, we use either a bug light or the true amber light so that we are reducing that blue wavelength in the evenings. Also, I admit I'm 75 years old. I occasionally have to get up in the night. And if if there's enough of the moonlight, etc., that I can go to the bathroom, walk to the bathroom without a light, then I'm good. But if I need a light or if something's going on and we really need a light, we've got one switch that turns on, an amber light in the bathroom. Because if you expose yourself in the middle of the night to that light in the blue wavelength, your melatonin production, if you've been so good and you're in the dark and you've got melatonin flowing through your system, and say you do something, nobody would do this. Say you go and open your refrigerator door, right? Nobody would do that in the middle of the night. Okay, you open the refrigerator door. I don't know about y'all, but my refrigerator has this bright white blue light. Bam! Your melatonin production drops to almost zero. And you think, okay, I'm going to just get something fast and close it back, and I'll get my melatonin going again. Well, the problem is it's gone to zero. It will not, when you get back in the dark, it will not go back to the level of production where it was before it went to zero. It will start gently climbing up again, so that before the night's over, you really don't have time for it to get back to the level that's going to help you health-wise. So you've lost out there. Did that fully answer the question? Okay. You guys do what you personally want to do with your lights in the house, but that's what we do. And that's how we protect ourselves so that we sleep better. Yes. Right now, that true amber, the easiest place is on the internet. Look for true amber. Yes, and oh my gosh, we're talking about bug lights for those of you on Zoom or later on YouTube, that they are sometimes hard to find in the stores. I stopped by a hardware store because a friend of mine accidentally broke one of my demo lights. And I was headed out to Bastrop to do a program for their master naturalist. I stopped at the hardware store, picked up a light. Oh my gosh. This is the light. It said it's red. It's a red light, right? Man, I grabbed that and headed out. And we all had our diffraction grading glasses on, put this light bulb in, and boom, there was the biggest rainbow we'd see the whole evening. Because it just says lights up red. It wasn't a true red bulb. So you have to kind of pay attention, especially with LED lights. So this is my example of the light not to buy. There's more and more of the warm colored amber lights available. While we're talking about, you said the little lights, I know I personally have a light fixtures on either side of my door that I think of as eye candy. You know, they're glass and they're pretty and they're long and, you know, and if I had light bulbs, regular light bulbs in it, it would blind us as we walked up on the porch. Instead, I have those little bulbs in it that are called flicker flame bulbs. So it looks like a little gas light. And then up in the ceiling of my porch, I put recessed bulbs that are yellow, that are, you know, true deep yellow bug lights. So just to share some of the things that my husband and I have done on our property. Any other questions? Great questions, group. Yes. Okay. The question is, when we put lights on a timer, when do you turn them off? You'll have it go off or dim. And what my answer would be is when nobody's going to be there. If you know that you or somebody in your family is going to be pulling up, or a guest is, you know, you're going to have somebody there every day at 6 o'clock, and gee, this time of year it's dark at 6 o'clock, and they're usually in the house by 6:45, then I would have it from 6 to 6:45. Then I'd have a switch that when I had company, I could turn it on to let people see to get in. We have, instead of a timer, we have little remote control switches in both of our vehicles that we can turn on the light under the carport as we drive down the driveway. Just push a little button, and then we get inside and push another button, you know, remote control on those lights. There's so many great ways with technology to control our lights. But bottom line with your question is, if a person is not going to be there, then you don't need that light on. It will not protect you from crime. I know the lighting manufacturers have told us all we need those big security lights. They want to sell more lights. They are not using professional studies about what actually happens with all that light, because professional studies show that it does not stop crime, and in fact it may encourage somebody with ill intent. They go, look at that place all lit up, they must have good stuff, let's go, you know, lights are on, let's go look, let's go see. So all right, thank y'all.
I'd like to say good night to our online viewership. Consider applying for the Bring Back the Monarch Grants to Texas Garden Grants. The application period closes January 20th. Find a place where the public can enjoy a monarch garden and write a grant for it. If you need help, we're here for you. So yeah, thank you and good night and goodbye.